Vai lá. Eu não tenho câmera ligada, Fábio, calma. Good evening everyone and welcome to the Jewel in the F1 Crown, the most desired race win of them all. Welcome to the 6th round of our W2W F1 2019 Championship. Welcome to the Monaco Grand Prix, 3.3 kilometers done by 19 corners 39 times this afternoon, and the drivers are sure to have some challenges in front of them. Of course, most of the chances from each driver are going to happen during the qualifying session, but of course everything can happen, and the truth is, with the close proximity of the barriers, consistency is very important, and usually anything does happen in the streets of the Principality. So with that, let's move to the standings. As you can see, we have Colored Lonely leading the championship with 85 points. Slasher follows in P2, 13 points behind. Then we have Cuba in P3, followed by Brazier, with Proxa closing the top 5 with 29 points, 2 ahead of Black Widow, as we have Crime in 7th with 24 points to his name, 1 above George 209, as we have Wizok in 9th, and Aziox, the Frenchman of the McLaren, completes the top 10. Now, moving on to our constructors standings, as you guys can see, it is Haas that still is ahead in the championship with 132 points, whereas Racing Point is in P2, 113 points to their name, as they sit 19 points behind the leaders. After that, we have Milton Keynes-based Red Bull with 62 points, Alfa Romeo in 4th with 57, only 4 points ahead of Brackley-based Mercedes, as then we have Ferrari in 6th with 47 points. Then a big gap, 31 points separates P6 from P7, who are the Woking-based McLaren, as we have Toro Rosso in 8th with 9 points, Renault in 9th with 8 points, and in last place with only 4 points scored this season, we have the Groove-based Williams team. And with that, can get started with our qualifying session for the Monaco Grand Prix. So, let me just get everything sorted out on my second monitor. Give me a second. And okay. Getting the information that it is going to be a full dry qualification and the race as well. And looking at chat. Well, the race, it's scrapped to people watching on the television. Monaco is never a circuit for the spectator. It's a circuit for the driver. And yeah, it's a challenge exclusively for the driver. So, the spectacularity of Monaco isn't for us the viewers, it's for the drivers. It's the most prestiged race to win as well, because of the concentration it demands and the consistency as well, lap after lap. In the meantime, we have Crime, the Bulgarian, getting himself started with his own lap. Let's go on board with the Bulgarian. He didn't have the greatest start of the season, 11th place at Australia, then got 5th place at Bahrain, but hasn't been able to replicate that finishing position since then. 10th place at China, and then 8th at the streets of Baku. So let's see how he does today. Get himself now, oh, did he cut the first corner? He's still on 0 ERS, so maybe he cuts the first corner and nullified his lap, because he's back down to 0 ERS. In the meantime, let's take a look at who is on a flank lap. Lasher is on a flank lap, Colored Lonely is on a flank lap, Georgia is behind him. We have Proxa about to close his lap, Corn Blake is in sector 2, Delta as well, Black Widow and Gary Gunn. So we have Proxa, who is about to finish his lap. We also have Gary Gunn. Let's see what the Renault does. It is going to be a 112.3, and Proxa P2 with a 112.4. Colored Lonely gets new pole with a 111.8. Let's see what the Bolivian does. It is 4th so far with a 112.5. After that, I would say it is Lasher, I believe, is getting himself through the start-finish right-hand kink, if I can call it that. 113.6, worst qualifying performance so far. Taking a look at Cohen Blake, who's also getting himself through the last couple corners. Let's see how it goes for him. 7th place for the time being. Of course, not any times posted just yet for the Renault driver. And gets P6 with a 113.8. 8. We also have Black Widow. She is going to cross over the line, and it is going to be P6 for her with a 1:13.7. So Cohen Blake is the slowest out of the drivers that have posted a lap time at this point. Crime has finished his lap, but he did nullify his own lap, so he's going to have another go at it, as we have yellow flags in Sector 2. Not sure who could have caused them, but nonetheless, let's be on board at the moment with Wizok, as the British driver is getting himself through the Lowe's hairpin, the tightest corner of the entire calendar. Getting himself now through the right-hander, approaching now a very tricky braking zone. He actually went wide, connected with the wall, and he got damaged. He actually got damage from that contact with the wall. Of course, any mistakes are quite heavily punished here at the streets of Monaco. Let's see how he does though throughout the lap. He's still pushing, still on mode number 5 on ERS. He needs to take Tabak cautiously, maybe too cautiously through there, but nonetheless he's going to get himself through the lap, through the swimming pool chicane, approaching the last 3 corners of the circuit. Hard on the brakes into Raskas. He actually went on neutral. Pretty sure that was by mistake, but nonetheless he got his lap severely compromised. He's also derating at this point, so the exiting speed is not going to be great. 1:14.8 for the medium tire runner of the Toro Rosso at this point. In the meantime, we have Delta on out lap. We also have Goziag in the pits. So let's see how it goes for him, for the German driver, once he actually starts going on a lap. In the meantime, we also have Lasher out there. Got himself a 1:13.6. Not sure if he improved, but he's taking his car to the pits, I would say. Crime is also going on his way back to the pits. Progza is also on his outlap just now. So some drivers very quick to get out there to try again. Delta is on his flying lap just now. He actually has his teammate in front of him. His teammate needs to hurry up in order to not hold up his teammate. Let's see how it goes though. Starts getting downhill into Mirabeau. Let's see. Ooh, that is tight, but he managed to pull through. Hard on the brakes, down to first gear. Need to be smooth on the throttle as well. Nice transition into the right-hander. Now before the tunnel, pedal to the metal, up through the gears. Mode number 5 of ERS. Some say mode number 4 would give more top-end speed, but to be honest, the cars don't really reach the top speed at this track. Ooh, a little bit close to the wall at the exit of the Nouvelle Chicane. Getting through Tabak now, committed as hard as you can through the corner. A little bit slow through there, I would say, was the Renault, as you now get through the swimming pool chicane. And hard on the brakes one last time for Raskas. And let's see how it goes for him. Ooh, having a little bit of a correction there to avoid the inside wall. Nonetheless, it's going to be P2 for him with a 1:12.3. Colored Lonely posts a 1:11.8 so far. He's the only driver to get below the 1:12s around the streets of the Principality. But let's see if anyone else can join him in that club. In the meantime, we have another Ferrari. We have Progza getting himself through the second sector, approaching now Tabak. Let's see, not Tabak, the tunnel. Let's see how he goes. Getting up to the gears now to turn 9, approaching the chicane of turns 10 and 11. The Nouvelle Chicane before 12 and 13. Get himself smoothly through the power as well. It's important to get a good exit out of there and be committed as hard as you can. Get as close as you dare to the barriers through the chicanes, following Tabak as well. Let's see how he does. He got himself not the worst result ever at Spain. Let's see how he does though. He's going to get himself through the line, and it is going to be a 1:11.2 new pole position, or at least provisory pole position. The Austrian got himself at the top of the timetables. So the two Ferraris in the top 3, split by only a racing point. Speaking of racing points, Colored Lonely crossed himself through the line to get himself a 1:11.7. Still an improvement, not enough to get the top position of the standings. Let's see now as Black Widow where she is. Ooh, there was contact as she's going to the pits for a replacement there. Unfortunately, Cohen Blake is going to try an improvement. The British driver of the Renault is going to try to improve his lap time as he gets through Tabak. Very close to the wall indeed, improving by over 1.5 seconds. There's big improvement there for the Renault driver. Let's see how he does. He's about to cross over the line to close out his lap. His teammate Gary Gunn is about to start a lap of his own. A little bit wide coming out of the last corner. Cohen Blake is going to get himself through the line, and it is going to be an improvement of 1.2 seconds. Gets himself P6 for the time being. We also have, yes, we have Gary Gunn on a lap of his own. So let's see how he does. In the meantime, we have Wizok also on a flying lap. Let's see where he is. He's just started his flying lap, so we'll check up on him later on. Let's jump back to Gary Gunn as the Renault. He's gonna get himself, hopefully, an improvement on his lap time. Taking a look at his results, he has only been able to score in China, I believe. Ooh, there's a collision with the wall there. Ooh, almost went face first, or nose first in this case, to the wall. Sergio Perez collided with back in 2011, I believe, in a very nasty accident. Fortunately, the Mexican was alright as a result of that. A testament to how safe these current chassis are. Let's see. Okay, so he nullifies his lap, comes back to the pits. We have Lasher on an outlap of his own, currently getting through the first sector, improving by 0.4 of a second. We also have Wizok, who is going to close out his lap, improving by 1.2 seconds. Let's see if that's the time that he improves by at the end of the lap. It is 2 seconds. Gets himself P7 though. Not the greatest improvement, nonetheless it is an improvement. Up to P7 is the Toro Rosso driver. Jumping back to Crime, who had the oh, that was... Did he corner cut the swimming pool chicane? I'm not sure. It looked to me like he did. He's still going at it. Oh, there's the big collision with the wall, unfortunately. And yeah, that's going to be it. He's going to have to rush back into the pits. He does still have time, I would say, but he does need to get himself back into the pits as quickly as possible for a replacement. We also have Lasher with damage on both sides of his front wing. So I don't think he's going to be improving his lap time anytime soon. Nonetheless, he's still going for it. He does improve by over half a second, but he maintains a P8 for the time being. We also have Delta going for another run at it, as we still have 6 minutes left. There's a collision with the wall at the exits of the swimming pool chicane. And let's see how he does, getting himself through the last corner now. DRS wide open. Here is already derating, which doesn't help his acting speed, but nonetheless jumps past Colored Lonely and gets himself P2 on the board. Gets himself a 111.6 front row lockout for the time being for the Ferrari boys. Now taking a look at the racing point of Jorge as the Bolivian driver. He's getting himself now a flying lap of his own. Is he improving? He's actually not improving through the first sector. So it looks like he's close to the limits, or maybe he just made a mistake into turn 1, but looks like he's at his limit of his capabilities. Nonetheless, oh, Delta managing to get out of the way as soon as possible, not give too much trouble to the Bolivians. Get himself up through the gears, coming out of the tunnel, hard on the brakes, about 95 meters away from the swimming pool chicane, taking the apex quite nicely. Big sausage curb at the inside there as well. But the driver still try and cut it from time to time. Committed as much as you dare through a Tabak and the swimming pool chicane. Now once again hard on the brakes into Raskas. Very tough corner to get right, especially as you arrive the braking zone while cornering at a very high speed. Very easy to lock up. Nonetheless, he is through, going to cross over the line. P2 for the Racing Point driver with a 111.4. Very good job there from George, who got second place at Azerbaijan. Let's say, I believe it is his podium. Yeah, it is his only podium so far. Didn't have the greatest of races at Spain. Very misfortunate race at Spain. So he's going to try to come back strong. Let's see how he is going now. Gary Gunn in the Renault. He still has his front wing intact at least, which is a good start. He's still ahead of his teammate by quite a margin. Well, it is about 3/10. Not as big as I was expecting. But yeah, I really thought Cohen must have improved, because I think Gary was further away from him. Yeah, nonetheless, getting himself through the Nouvelle Chicane now. Let's see how close he gets to the walls into Tabac. Maximum commitment through there. Could have taken a tighter line, but of course it's quite tricky to get right at the corner as well. He's still improving by 0.4 of a second, managing to get very close to the wall without actual contact, getting a wide approach to Raskas, which is interesting. Getting a straightened out exit as much as he could. He's already the rating, but DRS is open at the back, gets himself P5, makes a lap under the 112s, 111.9, moves up to a P5. In the meantime, we have Black Widow as she is taking a Red Bull through the exit of the tunnel. Let's see what she does. Getting himself at the exit of the chicane. Got very close to the wall. Not sure if there was contact. The camera isn't helping me. Yeah, the camera isn't quite helping me. So I'm not sure if she got damaged. Ooh, she probably got damaged there. Yeah, she did get damaged with that contact with the wall. She's going for it though. Let's see what she does. She's going to try to improve her lap. DRS wide open at the back, and it is going to be a 112.6, an improvement. But still only 7th place for the Red Bull driver. In the meantime, we have Colored Lonely on an out lap. Oh, sorry, a flying lap of his own. Get himself through the low hairpin. Getting on the throttle as hard as you can. Or as soon as you can. Getting himself now to turn number 7 and 8. Smooth on the power now at the exit through the quickest, I would say, section of the track. It's also my favorite section of the track. Just go full throttle through the tunnel before going hard on the brakes down into the Nouvelle Chicane. But be smooth on the exit as well. And now you just throw the car into Tabac. A bit cautious there from Colored Lonely. Still not pushing to the limit. Nonetheless, he's still improving by 0.6 of a second. Hard on the brakes once again into Raskas. Taking a tight approach. Going down to first gear actually. Some of his competitors opt to maintain second gear. He's already derating, not getting the best exit. But nonetheless, it is pole position by exactly 200ths of a second, separating Colored Lonely from Progza. What a lap from him. As we have Crime, who's also about to finish his lap. I would say he's improving by 1.3 seconds. He does have damage in the right side of his front wing. Let's see what his lap time gives him. It is going to be a 113.4. Maintains a P10 for the time being. Now jumping at Delta, who is on a flying lap of his own. He's still at the tunnel. Gary Gunn had a collision there coming out of the Nouvelle Chicane, and he's going to be taking his car home. Hopefully can get out of the way of Delta, who is pushing for a lap time. Let's see how it goes for the Ferraris. He gets now through Tabac. Once again, not fully committed through there. Still improving by 1/10 of a second. Looked like he was very cautious there. I'm not sure if he's going to try to go for another lap, or if he's actually pushing. It didn't look to me like he was pushing, and yeah, he's just getting it back to the pits. Maybe he nullified his lap, and that's how it's going to be for him. We have Progza on an out lap, we have George on an out lap, and we have Lasher on an out lap as well. So George just started his flying lap, so we're going to see if he can improve on that 3rd place he has so far. Let's see how it does. In the meantime, we also have Lasher also started this lap on the mediums. He's going to try to get a medium start. I believe mediums to hards are the way to go. I'm not sure exactly if you can do soft to hard strategy. You can take the softs to lap 12, but there are 39 laps. Can you do the remaining on mediums? I am not sure. I think you have to do soft hards. But yeah, not really sure. Nonetheless, the time has run out. The checkered flag has been waved to most of the drivers, so they won't be able to improve on their performances so far. And just have to hope they don't get demoted by some of their rivals. Let's see what George does. Getting through the swimming pool chicane. He's improving by 1/10. Maybe he gets a slap in the wrist for that last corner there. Ooh, close to the wall, and he actually hits it. And he's going to abort his lap. Let's jump to Lasher, who's getting now through Raskas. He also has damage on the right side of his front wing, getting cleanly off the last corner. He's actually on mode number 0 VRS, and he does not improve, so a very bad lap from him. And Progza is going himself through the line, and he gets P2. Does not improve and with that is not going to be able to take pole position. So it is Racing Point and Ferrari mixed up in the first 2 rows of the grid for the race. This race isn't going to be 100%. The league does 50% races, so it is 39 laps. 100% race is, well, it's the double, right? So yeah, it is 78 laps if I'm not mistaken. Something along those, yeah, I believe it's 78 laps. So there you have it. It is Colin Lonely and Proxa split by only 200ths of a second as George comes in P3, Delta P4, Gary Gunn P5, Cohen Blake P6, Black Widow in P7, Wizok in P8, Lasher 9th, Crime 10. Gozdiag didn't actually set a lap time. Maybe it is his strategy, considering there are only 11 drivers today. Potentially just not trying to get involved in any chaos in the midfield and just getting himself through easy to turn 1 and try to take advantage of the misfortunes of others. Now, getting ourselves through our formation lap, and as every driver is getting himself figuring out the strategies, I'm actually going to bring up the Drivers' Championship. For those of you who have missed it, let me just do a thing rather quickly. I'm actually going to increase that and center it, because I was having a little bit of trouble looking at it. So let me just do a thing real quick, sorting something out on my second monitor. So okay, the drivers are still on the formation lap, so I apologize, but I do have to take care of this on my second monitor. Give me a moment, guys. Okay. Okay, I got that sorted out. I apologize for that. But now it is done. Okay, bringing up the chat as well. But yeah, he is able to start on whatever tires he wants. I take a look at the tire compounds for the start. But even if he qualified and still got P11, he would start on whatever tires he wants. He's starting on the mediums. There's no rain expected for today. So let's see how it goes for them. I think the strategy will be to one-stop softs to mediums. They can take the softs to lap 12. And then if they can do 12 laps on the softs, I would imagine they can do the remaining 17 laps on a set of mediums, right? So yeah, let's see how it goes for them. Getting a better camera angle, please. Yeah, the game doesn't really like me much. But there you have it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go for the Monaco Grand Prix. Good start from Georgia. Good start as well from Gary Gunn. It might be rewinding to turn 1. No, it isn't. Proxa takes the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix to turn 1. Great maneuver around the outside. Colin Lonely P2. Georgia P3. Delta P4. Gary Gunn P5. Black Widow moving up to P6. Cohen Blake down to P7. Wizok P8. Crime in 9th. Slasher, also not having the greatest of starts, moves down to P10. And we have Gozdiag in 11th for the time being. Black Widow trying to take a look. Oh, that's close there. There's also contact between Crime and Wizok. Great camera angle there, as you can see everyone bunching up together into the low hairpin in the first corner. But nonetheless, looks like there's still no front wing damage for any of the drivers, despite we witnessing a bit of argy-bargy between them into the first couple corners. Proxa was able to get a better start, got himself around the outside of turn 1, and takes the lead. Very well done. Now let's see how his rivals respond. Proxa is already starting to pull away from Colored Lonely, so maybe the Racing Point driver is having a bit of issue with his space, with his race pace. Well, let's see how that one develops until the end of the session. We also have Delta very close to George, but it's not going to be enough to try an overtaking maneuver on the Bolivian. Ahead of him, there was contact with the wall. Does he have damage? Not sure. No, he does not have damage. He was very lucky with that one. It's Cohen Blake. There's a collision. Cohen Blake and Wizok have a moment. And that is, that is Cohen Blake and Crime collected in the collision. There was a 3-second time penalty for one of the drivers. Couldn't quite make out who that was. I think it was Lasher getting a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. He also got involved in that, got damage to his front wing. Is still rather close to Gozier, who in all of that made his way up to P8, also having damage of his own and the medium tires for him. No form of safety car deployed, so we are going to continue racing as it is. Will we have Diaz take it? No, he's not going to pull an attempt at the moment. Who outbreaking himself into the Nouvelle chicane. And is going to have... we have maybe a moment from Colored Lonely there? Yes, and Colored Lonely is taking it to the pits. In the meantime, we also had Lasher going to the wall at Tabaki. Completely missed his front wing. Cohen Blake also missing his front wing. Gets a 5-second penalty for corner cutting. And a couple drivers are already in the pits. Colored Lonely was doing very well and is already on the hards and is going to take those until the end of the Grand Prix, after as well replacing his front wing. So it is Proxa leading 2.5 almost seconds away from Giorgio West Delta all over his gearbox. It might be interesting, the battle for P2, as Delta is really pressurizing the Bolivian of the Racing Point. So it is going to definitely be interesting in the laps to come, especially as DRS starts being enabled for these drivers. Let's see who manages their tires the best and keeps them in better condition to have better exits. And a little bit of a bad approach. The angle of approach there for Delta was really bad. It was in the middle of the track instead of being as close as he could to the right, to the barrier on the right side. That really didn't give him a good angle. So really compromising his lap. Nonetheless, not getting damage, and he's still hunting down George. The gap has grown though to over a second, so that mistake from the German is going to allow the Racing Point to pull ahead. Taking a look at Proxa, who also lost time to George. Was there a mistake into turn 1? He doesn't have front wing damage, but perhaps there was a mistake into the turn number 1. Black Widow is starting to chase down Gary Gunn as well. Looks like Gary Gunn has had a bit of issue keeping himself ahead from the Red Bull driver. Let's see as well how the battle or the potential battle between the two develops in the laps to come. Every driver who has pitted in the first laps are now on the hard compound of tires. Colored Lonely is in the pits, or was in the pits. Kozieg, Lasher, Crime and Cohen Blake, all of them go for the compromise strategy on the hards, as we have yellow flags in sector 3. Who could that one be? Could that be Colored Lonely? Not sure. I really cannot tell who could have possibly caused that. It wasn't... Oh, it was Crime! Crime going into the wall, I assume, at Raskas, and he's missing his front wing. Cohen Blake is for sure going to try and overtake, taking advantage of the misfortune of the Bulgarian driver. Is in the wall. He's very lucky to not be out of the Grand Prix at this point, but he's going to lose severe amounts of time at this point of the Grand Prix. Of course, still 39 laps left, and these drivers can still... they just need to not retire, and they can still get a good amount of points. In the meantime, we had Gozieg lose a position to Lasher. So Lasher, despite having front wing damage, is showing... he doesn't have front wing damage anymore because they all went into the pits from 7th below. Yeah, I was forgetting about that. But yeah, Lasher showing superior pace. And now, of course, he's very... Oh, he's in the wall! He is in the wall again, hitting the inside barrier into the last corner, which sent him onto the outside. And he has both end plates missing, and he goes into the wall again. So there's a couple more end plates missing from his front wing, and not really the greatest start of the Grand Prix for the Haas driver, who collides with the wall once again. Really not taking into account the lack of downforce into the braking zones. And now it is Gozziag. Is he going to attack him? No, he's not. He's going to force him into a mistake. And the Haas is in the wall. Fortunately, he managed to keep it out of a DNF. It wasn't terminal damage, but he's going to have to take it into the pits for another front wing replacement. Black Widow is lap after lap keeping herself in contention for that 4th place. Let's go on board with her. She hunts down Gary Gunn, who doesn't have the most confidence into the corners. Going to try to take a look at the Renault, trying to see if he has front damage of any sort, front wing damage. No, he does not. Black Widow also does not have front wing damage, I don't think. Yes, there's no front wing damage in the Red Bull. So it is on just pure pace. Black Widow is feeling more confident for the time being. That could have gotten front wing damage though. I'm not sure, I couldn't quite catch it on that shot. And yeah, that is front wing damage for Black Widow. And she's going to struggle perhaps now keeping up with the Ferrari. She needs to be very careful now, especially into corners like the back, where the downforce is certainly required to have the maximum confidence into the corner. As we have Lasher going into the pits. Crime also went into the pits in the previous lap to replace his front wing, so that's why Lasher is currently in P10, but he has been lapped. He's going to come out of the pits right ahead of this battle as Widow is in the wall, and that is another bit of end plates, another bunch of end plates missing from the Red Bull's front wing. And yeah, once you have a little bit of damage, it's a bit of a snowball effect, because you start lacking the confidence on the car, and then you get caught out if you are not taking into account. Woo, the Haas there blocking the Toro Rosso of Wizok. Wizok is probably not happy about that one, but to be honest, it's not like the Haas had much where else to go. They were approaching the corner, and the Haas still has to do his own race, right? So it's just an unfortunate moment for the Toro Rosso to catch up to the Haas. In the meantime, we have Georgia, who has at one point 2.2 seconds behind Proxa, and is now less than a second away from the Austrian Ferrari driver. So let's see how that develops between the two of them, as DRS is wide open at the back of the racing point. Of course, is not close enough to try anything at this point, but nonetheless, it is going to be close between them, as Widow gets into the pits, of course, and Black Widow goes into the pits. A replacement of tires, getting onto the medium compound. No, actually the hard compound. The game trolled me for a second. It is actually the white marked hards for the Red Bull driver, as Crime goes into the pits once again to retire. So at this point, if all the the drivers just need to finish, doesn't matter where they finish, they just need to finish, and they will guarantee themselves a points placement at the end of the race. Ooh, a bit of a luck up there from both Proxa and George, very close between the two, as now I have Cohen Blake, who, oh, there is a safety car. Safety car is out from the DNF of Crime. The safety car is out, and I'm sure the drivers are probably going to take advantage of that to go into the pits. So George lost a big amount of time. I don't know what he's doing. Is the Delta that slow for him? Proxa got himself very far away, so that was interesting. But yeah, Proxa is in the pits. Delta is going to get stacked there, and yeah, that's going to compromise him quite a bit. Let's see, will George get himself ahead? No, he's not able. Oh, and Black Widow gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Very unfortunate stuff for the Red Bull driver, as Wizok jumps Delta, I believe. No, Delta jumps back to P3 because he was just so far away from everybody else. Gary Gunn is going to get serviced and come out of the pits and get back at... no, he's actually not going to overtake Wizok. He's going to stick behind the Toro Rosso Colored Lonely is going to be ahead of all of them as he recovers up to P4. Of course, I mean, it could have pitted, to be honest, it could have pitted to get a fresh set of tires, especially at Monaco. The freshness of the tires is an important factor, I would say. You want to get the most grip you can around these circuits, but he opted not to do so. 6 laps old are his medium tire set at this point, and he is moving up to P4. So let's see how quick he can be on those tires. It's certainly going to be interesting to see what pace he's going to be able to extract from that set of hards. In the meantime, Proxa has already caught up to the safety car, so the queue is forming. Hopefully we don't have any collisions during the safety car, no brake checks, no anything like that. Let's see how it goes on the restart. I would expect the safety car to be only brought back into the pits in 2 laps time. I would expect the restart to be at the end of lap 10, end of lap 11, beginning of lap 12. That's why I would say some of these drivers, they could probably have gone onto a set of mediums, because the normal, if you start on the softs, the normal pit window is lap 12, so you restart the race in lap 12. It's basically the same, I would say, right? So yeah, you could just try to do that one and go on the mediums. Nonetheless, it is not the case for most of these drivers. Cohen Blake is in a very precarious situation. He is lapped and he's going to have to let everybody through on the restarts, which might cause some chaos. Even Lasher, where is Lasher? Lasher is behind him, and Lasher is coming out of the pits, also lapped, going for a set of the medium tires. And Black Widow is also coming out from the pits on a set of mediums. So after the restart, she's going to lose time now. After the restart, she is going to also have to take a drive-through penalty, or to serve the drive-through penalty. So she is going to lose a lot of time. She's in the wall again. I understand the need to push. Fortunately, she didn't get damage there, but she needs to catch up to the group. Let me take a look at where the group is. The group is on the tunnel, so I would say she can catch up to them. I don't think she will lose much time until the end of the safety car period. I expect the safety car to only come in next lap, so let's see how it goes for them. As you can see, yeah, Black Widow is quite close to the pack at this point, so she's going to have the advantage on not only on the compound, but and therefore the grip, but also on the freshness of the tires, because every driver pitted a lap earlier and they are on hards, especially Goziag and Colored Lonely. We are on 7 lap old hards. Lasher might compromise the start though. Ooh, there it was close. Fortunately, Goziag ghosted, otherwise Lasher could have collided with him. And okay, for a moment I thought Lasher had collided with the wall at the exit of Raskas, but that was not the case. So yeah, we do have the safety car for one more lap. So, going to, as I was predicting, I expect the safety car to come in at the end of this lap. In the meantime, let's look at the results history for these drivers. So, we have Proxa leading the Grand Prix. He got a 7th place in Australia, 10th at Bahrain, 5th at China, and a DNS, or did not start at Azerbaijan, getting back strong with a 4th place at Spain. George didn't have the greatest start of the season. He didn't show up to Australia, only 8th at Bahrain. Then at China, he was running in the top 3, but a disconnection, he wasn't able to recover from a disconnection, wasn't able to get back in the lobby, so a retirement from him. Came back strong with a P2 at Azerbaijan, did not finish as well the Spanish Grand Prix, so an up and down season from the Bolivian so far. Delta is in P3, and he got demoted from the first tier of racing of this league, so it doesn't really have an history of results. He did not finish Spain, if I'm not mistaken, so it would be nice to see some points come the Ferrari drivers' way. Let's see how it goes though. Colored Lonely, of course, is our championship leader, and we have the safety car going for another lap. Not sure actually. The racers are racing. We are still having... And no, there is green flag racing now. Proxa gets himself a better start. Georgia is right on his gearbox. Delta looks like he was falling asleep there. But we have Colored Lonely drop a couple places. I would guess Gary Gunn was trying to let his rivals lap him, and that's delayed the other drivers' run. Cohen Blake is going to have to drop behind Black Widow, and 9th and the 10th place cars have been lapped. Goziag is going to try to get past us. There's contact with the Haas. I don't know what the Haas was doing. Cohen Blake was always going to have to let his rivals through. He still needs to let Black Widow get by. So I'm not sure what Lasher was doing there. Maybe a desperation move there, because yeah, he went to the right hand side, maybe trying to attack his rival, but I'm not sure what that was for, to be honest. Cohen Blake was always going to have to slow down to let his rival through. Nonetheless, looking back at the front, Proxa still leads, already pulled away 8th, 10th gap to Georgia, as Delta is about 1 second behind. Lasher gets another 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. So unfortunately for the Croatian driver, not the Croatian, the Romanian driver, sorry, getting himself not the greatest of races so far. He who is on a streak every single race this season, he has finished in the top 5. P3 at Australia, P2 at Bahrain, P4 at China, P4 at Azerbaijan, and P3 at Spain. But today looks like he is really struggling and is going to not be able to continue that top 5 finish streak. So he's on his way to actually lose quite a bit of the work he's done trying to hunt down Colored Lonely for the championship lead. Let's see how it goes, as Georgia is, speaking of the other racing point, Georgia is now closer to the Ferrari than was in the previous lap. Colored Lonely is too far behind. Let's take a look real quick at Cohen Blake, as he's just chasing. Okay, is Black Widow... Black Widow is behind them. I'm not sure what's going on. Black Widow maybe is just slower on pace, because she is not overtaking. She's not lapping the other 2 cars ahead of her, so I imagine the other 2 cars are quicker. So let's say... let's see, rather, how it goes. Oh, there's a moment there. They are going to the pits. Widow goes into the pits once again. Cohen Blake keeps going. Lasher loses the plate. That was a rather late pit call, I would say. But nonetheless, he's going to take it, replacing his front wing once again. Another set of mediums for the Haas driver. And he's going to get away soon. Black Widow also gets away ahead of Lasher, so she's going to be on another set of mediums. Looks like that was a used set of mediums, though. 4-lap old tires at this point for the Red Bull driver. So let's see how it goes for her. In the meantime, Georgia and Proxa are still playing their little cat and mouse game at this point. Georgia was slower in the last lap, so the gap increased once again to about 8/10. Delta is maintaining the 1 second gap. Colored Lonely is just not really able to keep up, I would say. So let's go on board, as Proxa got very slow there into Raskas. Let's see who gets the better exit. Will it be Proxa or Georgia? Georgia keeps on going into mode number 2 of ERS. Proxa goes to number 4, so that does give the advantage in terms of acceleration to the Ferrari. And yeah, taking a look at that, Georgia might never be able to overtake, especially as I would imagine Proxa to recover. Yes, he's going back down to 0. So Proxa is going to 0 in the twisty corners, right, the twisty sectors, but then when he needs speed, he goes to mode number 4. So by going mode number 4 and then mode number 0, he doesn't really lose too much, and actually through the corners, he doesn't have as much power getting thrown down into the tires, so he conserves the tires, as George gets himself a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting there, while Georgia keeps stable mode 2 of ERS. That sends a little bit more power to the tires, which I would say is going to degrade them quicker as he puts more power through them coming out of the corners. So yeah, I would say Proxa is having a better resource management at this point, as he has a big mistake coming out of the swimming pool chicane. Georgia also having to do that correction. Almost got collected in the inside wall into Cascas. But nonetheless, once again, it is going to be Georgia in P2. Proxa still leading the Grand Prix. Colored Lonely is just not able to keep up. I would like to see if the Racing Point has front wing damage. No, it does not. It's just pure pace. His tires are he's struggling quite a bit on his tires, and he's really not able to keep up the pace. We also have Gary Gunn giving close chase to Wizok. Wizok doesn't have front wing damage. Gary Gunn doesn't have front wing damage as well. So it's going to be a battle of attrition, I would assume, between those two. Yeah, those are tire drivers that pitted very early into the race. I'm not sure if they can make it to the race. The top three can definitely make it to the end. But maybe they are just expecting another safety car. I'm not sure. I would say Colored Lonely and Goziag probably should have pitted for mediums, or at least for another set of hards under the safety car. They didn't do so, and they are struggling on pace. Goziag is 14 seconds away from Black Widow, because Widow went into the pits, but she has fresher tires at this point, so it's going to be closing in unless she does any mistake. In the meantime, we have Proxa getting very close to his rival. Ooh, Proxa moving there. That was a complete block by Proxa, and yeah, he's actually going to give the position away. Delta actually comes through and gets the position himself. Is there damage for Proxa? No, there's no damage from Proxa, but yeah, I do believe there was a bit of a block there from the German. So he is going to, he did give the position back, but Delta able to capitalize on that. Not sure if George got wing damage on that exchange. No, fortunately he did not get it. All of that chaos also allowed Colored Lonely to catch up a little bit. So let's see how it goes for them, as Lasher gets the new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So despite being intent, he's still trying to get that extra points for the fastest lap. Let's not forget, at this point, Georgia does have a 3-second time penalty. I don't know about Delta and Proxa, but at this point, Georgia does have a 3-second time penalty, so he needs to keep himself composed, needs to settle himself on a rhythm, and get himself 3 seconds away from Delta. It's not going to be easy though, as Delta is going to be chasing quite hard until the end of the race, I would say, even though Georgia does have more ERS at this point. I think Delta and Georgia are having the same amount of strategy in terms of ERS. They just leave it in mode number 2, or the default, and just carry on like that. Which, I mean, it's working out for them, but as you can see, they've been losing ERS throughout the lap. And yeah, as I was saying, just putting more power through the tires, and that forces the tires, forces them to put more effort, right? Demands more of the rubber in the slow speed exits, traction zones as well. So it might not be a long term, might not be the best strategy for the drivers. Nonetheless, Delta is maintaining close chase on the Bolivian driver of the Racing Point. Looking at Colored Lonely, has been able to close into his rivals with all that. Proxa is 2.2 seconds away from the top 2 at this point, and Delta also lost out a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see if George can finally keep his head on his shoulders and for once not have bad luck and take the first win of the championship for him. In the meantime, Gary Gunn is still keeping on, giving close chase to Weasel. Looks like he's losing out a little bit to Toro Rosso in the previous lap. So let's see how that one goes. Black Widow has gained 5 seconds to Goziag since we last checked on them. So yeah, Black Widow is going to be sure to catch up Goziag anytime soon. And yeah, Gary Gunn is still giving close chase to his rival. They are both on the same amount of laps on their tires, as of course they pitted under the safety car. So yeah, it will certainly be interesting to see. We also have Colored Lonely 16 laps. I'm interested in seeing if he's going to try to take them to the end. I doubt it, but maybe he's going to pit. Maybe he's going to pit at lap 25 for mediums. or maybe for softs even. But let's see how that goes. But yeah, maybe that is what Proxa is betting on. Maybe is betting on the fact that the other runners are using a higher ERS modes and forcing their tires a little bit more. Delta isn't able to keep up with George, so this actually helps George quite a bit. Of course, Delta could, theoretically, he could manage his race from a distance. Delta is moving down to mode 1 of ERS, so saving a little bit. That might be why he's losing time. But Delta is losing time to George. And as I was saying, of course, he can theoretically control the race from a distance as he goes into the wall. And he leaves a bit of carbon fiber at the exit of the Lowe's hairpin. 14 laps on the softs. You can take them for 12 after qualifying. You qualify on the tires and then you can take them to 12 laps. So if you take the 12 laps plus the laps you have done on them on qualifying, I believe 14 laps is doable for the softs. Not saying it is the most comfortable, but it is possible. I would say it is possible. But yeah, with that damage in the front wing of Delta is going to exponentially lose time. The gap is going to start exponentially increasing, I would say, unless Georgia makes a mistake of his own. And yeah, Delta is getting back into the pits. I'm sure he's going to pick mediums for the end of the race. It's going to be 18 laps of those new front wing on the 37 car as well. And is getting out of the pits in P4, maybe even down to P6. Yes, he's down to P6. In the meantime, Goziag pitted for a set of mediums. And is back out in P8 behind Black Widow, 17 seconds behind the Red Bull driver. Coladlone is still going on 18 laps on his tires. So, yeah, let's see how it goes for him. Let's see how much longer he can sustain the pressure. Speaking of pressure, there is also still Gary Gunn pressurizing Wizok, who now has, is that Cohen Blake behind them? That is Cohen Blake behind them, so I'm not sure if Cohen caught up to them or if the others just lapped him. But oh, George got a penalty. Was that a 5-second penalty? Let me take a look at the race director real quick. Was that a 5-second penalty? No, that was a 3-second. So it is a second. So he has 3 seconds of penalties to his name. The Ferrari only has a warning. And Colored Lonely. No penalties. Wizok does have a penalty. Gary Gunn does not have a penalty, so theoretically Gary Gunn is ahead at this point, and Delta does have a penalty to his name as well. So at the moment, George needs to gain 1.5 seconds on Proxa until the end of the Grand Prix to be able to take home the win. Let's see how it goes. They pitted, so lap 19, I believe Colored only pitted in lap 3, 2 or 3. So the softs can be taken for 12, 13, 14 laps. I would say the mediums can be taken for about 25 laps. I think the arts can make it to the end. Of course, they might not be the most comfortable, but I do think the hearts can be taken to the end for Colored Lonely. Because... oh, that's the moment as Lasher is in the wall and is out of the Grand Prix! Lasher hitting the wall at the exit of the swimming pool chicane. And that is it for the Renault driver. He is out. Sorry, not the Renault, the Haas driver. He is out of the Grand Prix. In the meantime, Colin Lonely has caught up to Proxa a little bit. Proxa maybe made a mistake, not enough to lose his front wing. So apparently, even if he had a mistake, he managed to keep it out of the wall. But yeah, the gap has increased to 5 seconds between the two of them. And you can see the difference in ERS. The amount of ERS Proxa has at his disposal as Delta gets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. Getting also a 3-second penalty for corner cutting turn 1. But yes, I would say that is what Colored Lonely is trying to do, taking arts to the end and just capitalizing on the fact that it is hard to overtake. Is catching up to Proxa, but even if he's catching up to Proxa, he's probably just going to start passively taking DRS and all that. Black Widow goes into the pits for 2 laps old hours. She just doesn't have any more tires. Unfortunately for her, she doesn't have any more tires, and she's going to come out about 10 seconds away from Goziek. So yeah, the Canadian moves up to P7, 30 seconds away from Delta, so way out of contention. And Black Widow, at least she's on fresh tires, so the grip won't be that bad, but nonetheless, those are hard. It is unfortunate, but yeah, the amount of mistakes she made throughout the race till their fate. She's not going to be able to do a late race charge, as Cohen Blake gets a penalty of his own as well, and he's in the wall coming out of the last corner. Hopefully he doesn't block anyone. He's lost his front wing entirely, and he's going to have to take it back to the pits for a replacement. Unfortunate stuff to see. Very bad luck there from Cohen Blake, but yeah, ooh, a close encounter there to the wall as well into turn 1. Hopefully he manages to... No, he's going to the wall, and once again... And yeah, that is it for him. Yeah, really, I'm not sure... I guess frustration is a little bit on the mix there, but really not able to take into account the fact that he didn't have front wing to avoid the wall. Gary Gunn is still giving very close chase to... Oh, it's now Delta joining the party. It is a three-way battle for them. Despite the retirement from the Renault, no safety car deployed. And Colored Lonely is still maintaining the 2.8 second gap to Proxa. So looks like he's quicker than Proxa at this point. And Georgia is also quicker than the Austrian. So Georgia at this point is far away enough to be able to take home the win. If the race finished right now, Georgia would be the winner of the Monaco Grand Prix. Of course, now Delta is on much fresher, much softer tires. We have yellow flags in Sector 2. Was it something with the leaders? There's Georgia in the wall! Georgia misses the braking zone into Mirabeau, I believe that is, and is down to P3. Such an unfortunate mistake. He managed to keep himself off the wall, but he's down to P3. Very unfortunate stuff, and Proxa is going to get himself up to P1. Georgia also has his penalties. I'm actually going to take a look at Proxa, see if he has any penalties to his name. Does Proxa have? No, Proxa has had one of the cleanest races so far, and Colored Lonely. He has 3 warnings, but some of them probably for contacts in the opening laps. So he only has a warning that I would say is for corner cutting. So yeah, Colored Lonely is also having a quite disciplined race. But yeah, it's such unfortunate moment there. Proxa has been able to get himself pulling away from the duo of Racing Points we have right here, as we have Black Widow coming out of the pits on 13 laps old mediums. So maybe she had to replace her front wing again, and Georgia, getting better traction, gets himself up to P2 again. And of course, Colored Lonely knows, or probably knows, about the 6 seconds of penalty, so he's going to be managing from a distance, I would say. But yeah, we still have 13 laps to go, so we still have a lot of racing to be had. Let's see, Delta trying to have a little bit of a switchback at Gary Gunn, not enough to get him up position. Wizok is really slow into the lowest hairpin, as you guys can see. And yeah, Delta is exasperated at this point, I would say. Is really trying, because Gary Gunn, I don't think Gary Gunn has a penalty. Wizok does have a penalty to his name, but Gary Gunn does not. And Delta must not lose his patience, or he'll have a penalty of his own. I'm actually going to look at the race director for these 3. Wizok does have a penalty, at least one. Gary Gunn doesn't have penalties, but he has 2 warnings. And Delta has 2 penalties to his name, so that's even worse for him, as he has 6 seconds away from the top 5. So she's not really going, or is not really going to be able to take the positions unless he makes pulls a gap of 6 seconds on his rivals. Of course, if Gary Gunn lost time to Wizok and lost the DRS range, that would make things easier for Delta, but not for the time being. Ooh, a compromised angle that is in the wall. Fortunately, I don't think there was any loss of carbon fiber in the front wing of the Ferrari. So, very fortunate. It does have front wing damage on the left-hand side. It does have front wing damage on the left-hand side of his Ferrari, which also compromising his chances of getting himself into the top 5. Gary Gunn does have an intact front wing, and Wizok, I'm going to try to take a look, and Wizok does have left front wing side damage. Yeah, so once again, the Toro Rosso does have a compromised race pace due to his damage, and Gary Gunn is really just chomping at the bits to get past him. Of course, he knows, probably has been informed by the race director, or Jeff, that the car ahead has a penalty. But yeah, Gary Gunn really does need to focus not only on the car ahead, but also on the car behind. Let's see how it goes into turn 1, and the Ferrari once again isn't able to pull away with it. Let's see, it looks like the Renault did get a better exit into turn number 2, and is not going to be able to get past the Renault, does the German of the Ferrari. Looking back at the front, Colored Lonely has already lost about 3 seconds to George, but George isn't able to keep up, or I mean isn't able to close in on Proxa. Black Widow gets another, well, that was weird, maybe a lag moment on my monitor, but Black Widow takes another penalty, so her race goes from bad to worse. She's last at this point. She does need only to not DNF, and she will be able to claim points for her at the very least. But yeah, let's see how it goes, how the race is going to develop for all 3 of these drivers. As we have someone in the wall, that is the Renault! There's a complete lack of front wing there. Well, not complete, but a considerable amount of front wing damage on the Renault. He needs to be careful on the brakes, and he's for sure going to the pits, right? He's not going to the pits. That is a big risk, I would say. Especially as he could at this point just bolt on softs and try to post lap records on them. It would probably even catch up to Wizok, as Wizok, since he blocked Gary Gunn, is probably even going to block Delta as well. So he could risk it on a set of softs, but is actually going to lose a big amount of time. Delta is right on his gearbox. Let's see, he's going to attack. No, he's not going to attack at this point just yet. But let's see how it goes into the tunnel. Of course, Gary Gunn will have massive amounts of understeer. He needs to be careful, otherwise he could actually collide with the sidewall of the tunnel. A little bit of get on with it from Delta onto the back of Gary Gunn. Let's see how it goes. Ooh, that was actually the Ferrari understeering. Didn't see any front wing pieces flying there, but that was Delta going into the wall, and another 3-second time penalty. 6 seconds of penalties from Delta, so he needs to overtake Wizok on track if he wants to get away with it, because both the Toro Rosso and the Ferrari have 6 seconds of penalties. In the meantime, Georgia ahead has been able to take some time. Gary Gunn isn't going to the pits, but yeah, Georgia has been able to gain some time on Proxa, but for the time being it is still P1 for Georgia. Oh, Delta going on the inside there. That was a major corner cut. I don't know how he didn't get outright corner cut penalty, but yeah, that was a big loss of time there from Delta, and Gary Gunn is really fighting to the nail for that P5 at the moment. Really limping with that amount of front wing damage. Wizok has already pulled off almost 2 seconds to the duo you have on your screens. Yeah, it is definitely going to be hard for Gary Gunn to keep the Ferrari behind him. He has already done it for 2 laps, but of course when you have such big damage on your front wing, a slip up is going to put you in the wall for sure. Black Widow takes another 3-second time penalty. She might be looking at a disconnection soon. Not a disconnection, but a disqualification, as Georgia is already within a second of Proxa. There could have been a big mistake from Proxa. There's no front wing damage, but there was probably a big mistake from Proxa. I'm going to take a look at the penalties from the drivers. Proxa, does he have a penalty? No, he only has 1 warning since the start of the Grand Prix. Georgia has 6 seconds of penalties still, so he just needs to keep himself composed, needs to not let George pass, and even if George gets past, he needs to keep himself within 6 seconds, which I would say it's going to be very hard. I don't think Georgia has an outright advantage in pace. Only if his rivals make mistakes is he able to going to pull away those 6 seconds. Of course, Call It Lonely on 28 lap hold hards is losing enough time to now be 6 seconds behind the duo that is leading the Grand Prix. But of course, that is just due to his tires. Delta has a lost out. Delta missed his front wing entirely, and Delta is going to bring it back to the pits. Black Widow does have brand new softs. I don't know why she didn't opt for those before, but yeah, she has brand new softs, and she might try to take the fastest lap of the race for her. Let's see how that goes. But yeah, Delta is for sure going to the pits. I would say Kerrigan could go to the pits as well. Change front wing, get a bunch of soft tires, and try to catch up to Wizok. It's only a 1.5 second gap. So yeah, he's still stubborn on going on with it though. But yeah, Georgia is pressurizing Progza at the moment. You can see how close these two drivers are at the moment, and Georgia might force Progza into a mistake. Let's see how it goes. For the moment, Georgia having a little bit of understeer. He could have pulled his car further to the left to get a better run through the right hand. That didn't pull that one off though. And Delta went on the softs, and I would say Delta could be able to catch up to P5. Oh no, sorry, actually scratch that, because Delta is 30 seconds behind. He actually has Goziag close in on him. Goziag has been able to close in on him, of course. 12 lap old mediums against brand new softs isn't going to be much of a chance, but if Delta makes any sort of mistake, the McLaren will be right there to capitalize on it. George getting the RS once again, mode number 5 on ERS even, but he misses the corner. You can't do that when you have DRS, and when you go so high on ERS, you need to take into account that you are approaching the corner at a higher speed. That time he couldn't avoid the wall, and Call It Lonely is going to move up to P2. So once again, Georgia pushing too hard, throwing himself away a chance of getting points. So it is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So yeah, Georgia throwing away a chance at points. I would say maybe Wizok. Wizok does have penalties of his own, I believe. Let me take a look at Wizok. Let me take a look how many. He has at least one, right? Is it only one? Yeah, it is only one penalty for Wizok. So we need to get within 3 seconds rather, of Georgia. And considering the amount of damage Georgia has, I think that is bigger than what Wizok has. Wizok has closed in. We have 6 laps left, but yeah, Georgia has considerably more damage on his front wing than Wizok. And Wizok is going to start closing in. It's already 9 seconds the gap. He could, if he's quick enough, if he commits to it, he could get within 3 seconds of Georgia. We have 5 laps to go, even 6 laps to go, because lap 34 is not done yet, right? So yeah, there is plenty of time. Wizok, look at that, 5 seconds. Oh, George went into the pits. George went into the pits. It's going to be a brand new front wing. It's going to be soft tires on the front of his, on the front and the rear, of course, of his car. And it's going to get out there for a flying lap, I would assume. Delta is too far behind. Garrigan is also going to pull away considerably, but George is going to just give it pins and give himself the best shot at least getting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, claiming the fastest lap points as his own. As Black Widow does get it with the 112.9. She just was flying past George, but nonetheless, the blue flags, I would say, are getting shown to the Red Bull driver rather shortly, and she is going to have to concede the track position to the racing points. But yeah, Delta is also on 2 laps old tires, and he hasn't been able to beat the fastest lap time, so he hasn't been able to hook up a lap to get himself the extra point. It is Black Widow who currently has that. So when, yeah, the blue flags are getting shown to the Red Bull, she does pull off to the side to let the rival through. Black Widow does get another 3-second time penalty. How many penalties has she had? We are going to take a look at that at the end of the race, but for now, Let's follow George as he is actually still in mode number 2 of ER. Does he think he can get the fastest lap without going on a high ERS mode? I'm not sure, but I guess we will find out shortly. No drivers are close to each other at this point, so I would say why not look on board with Georgia as we follow his flying lap, so to speak. It's literally just going to be a qualifying style lap. Georgia is 11 seconds away from Gary Gunn, who is on 26 lap old tires. So the hards do last a very long time, and Georgia is for sure going to start closing in very rapidly. Already gained over a second in the first sector alone. So yeah, Georgia does have the weapons to get very close to Gary Gunn until the end of the Grand Prix, and potentially even overtaking, because these tires, it's Monaco, they are not going to lose efficiency after 4 laps like in Germany, for example, right? It's going to be a major threat for Gary Gunn, and of course after that he needs to, after he overtakes, if he overtakes, he needs to make sure he pulls away, but let's see how that goes. He's not gonna do fastest lap with no ERS. I think he just lost a bit of front wing as well. Yep, he did, and he's going to spin, and he's going to throw his chances away. It is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Maybe he's not even thinking about the points. Maybe he just forgot about the fastest lap point. But yeah, it is what it is. He's still gaining time on Gary Gunn, even though that collision did set him back a little bit. Still have Proxa 7 or basically 8 seconds away from Colored Lonely. As you can see, Proxa reaches the back and Colored Lonely wasn't even in the shot anymore. So it is unfortunate to see. Colored Lonely does have the pace to keep up with the best in this race, but he was forced in order for him to get up to the top places. He was forced to not pit at the safety car. That really set him back. Of course, on older, harder tires, you are never going to be able to have the same race pace. But it is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And he still did his best, kept himself out of trouble after the safety car and all that, kept himself out of trouble. And Georgia at the moment is down to P5. Colored Lonely is in P2. And Proxa, if he does have a big mistake, Proxa could actually lose out to Colored Lonely. Of course, Proxa has 9 seconds of an advantage, so he doesn't need to push himself at all. It's actually mode number 5 of ERS. Maybe he's just trying to stretch his legs. Maybe he's trying to push for the fastest lap. Let's actually see. He's in mode number 4 at the moment. I would say for acceleration, mode number 5 is best. Mode 4 is for acceleration. Mode 4 is for top speed. But let's see, is he actually going to try to go for the fastest lap? He's not improving his lap time, so let's take a look at his fastest lap time so far. It is I'll take a look at that. I can't take a look at that. Oh, it is 113.1. He's getting a 116 now, so yeah, he's not going to improve on that, so it's definitely not his race for the extra points. So he's still pushing for some reason. And yeah, when you push when you don't need, sometimes you get beat in the rear end. Georgia has been able to catch up to Gary Gunn, as I was saying. As we start lap number 38, he is getting just over a second away from Gary Gunn. Gary Gunn does have considerable amounts of front wing damage. Wizok, with all of this, has moved up to P3, so the Toro Rosso has managed to sustain his damage and keep himself clean after that, keeping away from him Gary Gunn and Delta, and he is congratulated, I would say, or well, he put himself in a position to be able to capitalize on his rival's mistakes and got himself up to P3. Georgia is smelling blood. He is right on the gearbox of Gary Gunn. Let's see who gets the better traction. Mode number 1 still for Georgia, who is now to mode number 4. He does get a better exit. Let's see how it goes. He's going to pull off to the inside of the chicane. There is contact between the two of them. What is Gary Gunn doing? What is Gary Gunn doing? That was not the best of racing, but yeah, that is unfortunate. I can understand the frustration, but Kerrigan had no business being where he was on the track. So that is really unfortunate to see. And yeah, George, at this point, he also got damage as well. Maybe even more damage than he had before. So he's going to have to stay in P5 for the time being. Also has 6 seconds of penalties, thing that Kerrigan does not have. So it is unfortunate to see, but yeah, sometimes the frustration gets the best of you, and Kerrigan, I am sure, is going to be penalized for that one. Now looking at Proxa, who is currently on his last lap, managed to keep himself composed, managed to take advantage of his rival's mistakes. Even when he dropped down to P3, he maintained his cool, and P1 eventually came back to his way, getting himself now to the last corner, and there you have it. Proxa is going to cross over the line to take home the win of the Monaco Grand Prix, the most desired race win of them all, and that is the first win of the championship for the Ferrari driver, the first win of the Ferrari overall in the championship, first podium for the Austrian as well, first podium for Ferrari. Great performance from him, and it is not the first time both Ferraris score, but it is the first point for both Ferraris since China, I believe. So yeah, a win for Proxa. Colored Lonely, still very good effort for 37 laps to get P2, Wizok P3, Kerrigan P4, George P5, Delta still gets P6, Goziak P7 as he's about to wrap up his lap. And then we are going to have Black Widow, who is actually, well, she's lapped even more than Goziag and is going to finish the race. And yeah, the Canadian is going to still claim some good points for the McLaren team with a 7th place at the end. So, going to get to our podium, and after that we're going to get to our interviews with our podium drivers. Going to take a look if they are available. I do believe, yeah, we don't have music. I apologize for that one. I actually forgot to activate the music. Oh no, we actually have podium music. Okay, I thought I had turned off the music, but whatever. There you have it, a win for the Ferrari, and what a better place to take your first win of the season. First driver apart from Lyra, who has been promoted to the first tier, apart from Lyra and Colored Lonely, he is the only other race winner. So, Colored Lonely gets himself a podium streak, a 4-place podium streak, a 4-race podium streak. He gets himself his 5th top 5 out of 6 races. His lowest finishing place is 6th place at Bahrain. So yeah, very competitive drivers. Well, Colored Lonely as Proxa takes the win. Colored Lonely P2, Wizok P3, Kerrigan P4, George P5, Delta P6, Koziak P7, and Black Widow in P8 with 6 penalties, as Cohen, Blake, Clasher, and Crime did not finish the Grand Prix. Let's jump to the Discord server. Let's see if we can get the drivers on the race call. So I would like to have Proxa, Colored Lonely, and Wizok. I'm going to tag them. So it is Proxa, Colored Lonely, and Wizok in a voice call for him. Okay, I'm going to get them here as soon as I can. I don't think Colored Lonely is available. I don't think Colored Lonely has a microphone. But at least the other two, they never finished in the podium, so I don't know. Let's see about that. Yeah, Colored Lonely does not have a mic, so he's not available. But yeah, Proxa and Wizok, I would require them to get in. Okay, just going to wait for a little bit more for them to show up. Okay, and just waiting for them. Proxa. Where is. Okay, oh, Proxa is there, so I'm going to drag Proxa. Okay, so we have Proxa in the voice call, and Wizok is joining soon. So yeah, in the meantime, we're going to talk to the race winner. Of course, Colin Lonely does not have a microphone, so he's not able to join. But yeah, Proxa, what do you have to do? Well, first of all, good night. How are you doing, man?
Good night, man. I'm really exhausted.
Yeah, I can imagine so. But yeah, after you got P2, I believe you got P2 in qualifying, right? Was it P2?
Yeah, it was quite a
Yeah.
close qualifying, and in my last qualifying lap, I was about 2 tenths up, but then I made a mistake by braking in the last corner and lost about 4 tenths.
Okay, yeah, but still, it was very close. 200ths of a second separating you from pole position. After you getting P2, did you think, considering it's Monaco and it was Colin Lonely, who is a very competent driver, did you think it was your chances were over to take the win?
I was hoping to get the podium and not crash out during the race, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, you did have a good start. A good start. Actually, had a very beautiful maneuver around the outside to take P1. And yeah, after that, what do you have to say about your race? Like, what are the things that like the biggest difficulties you had throughout the race?
My biggest problems were probably the soft tires the first few laps because they were overheating and had to drive really slowly. Kept Jorge and Delta behind me, always overheating and thinking, oh no, they can't pass me, it's Monaco. And
Yeah.
then the safety car came and last time, hearts on and runs.
Yeah. You also have had a moment there. You actually dropped down to P3. You had contact with George there, if I'm not mistaken. But like once you dropped to P3, did you think it was all over again?
Well, I thought I could get to third place. I've seen Jorge who had an amazing race pace. He was just really fast, and Delta was keeping it with him quite well. And I thought, well, yeah, P3 is quite likely. I'll make this one if I don't crash. Or if the others crash, I'll maybe get P.
Okay. Yeah, well, nonetheless, congratulations on the win. First win for Ferrari, first win for yourself in the championship, and of course, what a better place to win at Monaco. So, yeah, thank you for your words.
Thanks.
Now, moving to Izok, I believe, let me check real quick, I believe that is also your first podium. Yes, it is your first podium, your second five place finish. But yeah, what do you have to say starting from qualifying? Where what did you give your best, or do you think you had a few tenths on the table at the end of qualifying?
I definitely had a few tenths left on qualifying, but honestly, I knew that Monaco was just a. If you can survive it, you're gonna get a pretty good position.
Yeah.
So I just want to stay, sort of do a, sit at the back and watch the chaos out front. To be honest,
Yeah. Yeah.
which kind of worked out apparently.
Yeah, it did. It did, especially as some other drivers around you had mistakes. You had people even behind you. How hard was it to because you had a penalty and you had at least one penalty, I believe. And
I had 5 warnings, so
so yeah, it's a
I had a
penalty
Gary
and
gun up my butt for about 15 laps.
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
You got him, and Garrigan, he didn't have damage. You had a bit of damage. Garrigan didn't have damage, and then on top of that, it was Delta who went on a set of softs, if I'm not mistaken, and started pressurizing you two. How hard was that to not only, of course, manage your resources, the rubber on the tires and the ERS and all that, and while paying attention to the tracker in front of you, because after all it's Monaco, while keeping attention to the mirrors as well. How hard was that?
Um, I'm pretty knackered. I was pretty much saving ERS. I was pretty much in low ERS and lean fuel pretty much everywhere apart from the tunnel and the main straight. And I had to keep him just behind me on the straights. And then as soon as I think it was Delta was fine. I think he had a Force India behind him for a little bit as well. As
Mm-hmm.
soon as I saw them catching up with Gary, I was like, okay, well I can relax a little bit since he's got to defend against that. So it gave me a little bit of room. And then would you say it was Delta that was behind him for the second part?
Yeah, it was Delta behind Garrigan, but then they also got involved in a collision of their own. So Delta completely missed his front wing, and Garrigan got considerable amounts of damage. So that's why he started losing time to you.
Yeah, I noticed he fell back pretty quickly, sort of
Yeah,
8 laps, 9 laps from the end, so I could relax then.
it was
No
it
problem.
was it was also pretty stubborn. I would bet on him to go on softs and be able to get a last run on the softs, because you were on hards. Like it was probably going to catch up to you. I would
Oh yeah,
say.
yeah.
Uh,
Pretty much everyone that wasn't on hards was catching up. I think everyone that
yeah,
was on anything was catching up, since with a bit of front wing damage,
yeah.
I probably lost like
It was
half a
pretty
second on the
hard.
second lap.
Yeah, it was pretty hard, but yeah, nonetheless, congrats on the first podium, and yeah, thank you
Thanks.
for your words.
Cheers, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so this is it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give us a like button. If you did not, of course, the dislike button is right beside it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Hit the bell icon for any notifications of whenever I'm about to start a live stream or to post a video. Hope to see you guys next time, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.